There's no doubt that there's a lot of intense feelings going on around all of us in our hearts. Very, very intense feelings around this war. And it's been a long time since we've seen such intensity among all of us. And when you have such feelings, the question is what to do with them. Now, where do you deposit those feelings? So the feelings that come your way are grief, number one. This was, it's a Holocaust, nothing short of that. And a lot of grief. And sometimes you don't want to grieve because we got to go do something. Like, we're not sitting ducks. So there's this feeling of resentment towards these neighbors of ours who just, like, what do they want from us? And it's a sense of anger and a feeling of helplessness. Like, seriously, we thought we got over the Holocaust. We didn't get that it's still there with all its fullest intensity and wrath and hatred, senseless hatred. And it feels like, yeah, the Jewish people's in this, we feel stuck. And then there's a sense of, let's go do something. So it's a sense of, a fighting spirit. And that's together with, yeah, but are we really going to do anything this time? Or are we just like going to be the same as every other time and just, shoot a few buildings, claim we shot the top guys and whatever, and then be there back as sitting ducks? And there's also a sense of real, like, loss. Like, as a collective people, I thought we had an army. I thought we knew how to control the situation. Like, we were caught by surprise, not just by surprise, we were knocked off our socks. We were shattered. And there's a feeling of absolute brokenness. Like, I thought the army had some power and knew how to do things. 8 hours, they did not know anything. They broke the wall, they shattered the wall, nobody did nothing. Like, seriously? Nobody even touched it. Thousands of these murderers just cross over into us. A lot of intense, very intense feelings. The question we want to deal with is where to deposit those feelings, because that's the real question going on. So there are many different solutions as to what to do, right? Some people, when they have these feelings, what do they do with them? They say, you know what? Let's drown them out. So one approach is, how do you drown the feelings? One approach is to just go do something else. That's more often than not what Jews in America want to do. Let's just focus on something else. Very difficult when they have a lot of captives right now. So it's like the middle of the situation. It hasn't ended, it's just in the middle. But you really want to do something else in order to divert your attention elsewhere, right? There's another approach which says, let's go fight. Let's have a fighting spirit. So it's like, how do you do a fighting spirit? Well, I'm in America, so I'm not part of the army. I'm going to send vests to the army, bulletproof vests. And the army gets them and says, some chacham in America thinks he's getting me bulletproof vests. Those are not bulletproof vests. That's why we don't have those. Those are not real. So you're going to know what you're getting also. But you feel good that you're doing something. Or let's make food for the army. Spectacular. And suddenly you have this incredible chesed going on. These things are really spectacular. And some people say, let's daven. Let's just daven to Hashem and scream. But you got to wonder about all these things. Because some people, many people, do you ever watch the news? Do you ever find yourself not watching the news, but addicted to the news? I have to admit that, I made a decision a long time ago. I'm not watching news, but I can't not watch the news. So I said, you know what? WhatsApp I'm on. So I watched the WhatsApp. Someone sent a thing on WhatsApp and it was a little group to join. And I joined this group and it was brilliant actually. For a couple of days, it was really brilliant. Like a group of only positivity, only good things that are going on in the war. Little clips of things happening that is just so, so beautiful to be on. And I thought it was great. After 3 days, what I noticed was that they sent a few hundred WhatsApps every single day. And so for those couple days, literally my life was consumed by, without watching the news, of course, just WhatsApp, by that. So I exited the group. What does watching news do for people? You know what it does? When you look to see what's going on, think about it. What does it do for you? We're looking for a sense of security. We're feeling very insecure. And we want to look for the news to see that something happened. So many people did not look at the news at the beginning, and thankfully did not look at those ghastly clips at the beginning, because it's the savagery is so bad that instead of putting you into a state of security, it does precisely the opposite, and you know that. But now you want to look and you want to see, okay, so they bombed him, great, and they did that, great, and they're going to go in and they're going to do this, and you want to find things that are going to make you feel secure. Do you see how we look to the news for security? We look to the news for a sense of validation. And you know what happens in the news? The more you look at it, the less secure you feel. You think you're getting more security, it looks like it, it appears that way. The more you get into it, the less security you get, the more insecure you feel, and it becomes an addiction. Literally, you cannot get out of it. The question is, A, how do we escape these feelings? What do we do with them? Where do we deposit them? And it's not just a question for this war, it's a question in general in life. What do you do with very intense feelings? What do you do with them? Where do you deposit them? So, A, where do you deposit them? And B, does whatever you're going to do help? Not just where do I deposit my feelings, but can I actually help? And what can I do to be able to aid in this war? What I want to focus on is the question of really davening. Because when something like this happens, you want to turn to Hashem and you want to daven. You want to cry out to Hashem and you want to scream. A, does it help? And B, like, how do you daven? How does this system of davening actually work? Like, how do you do it? You ask Hashem, I'm here in New York, and I'm asking Hashem out in the Holy Land to please help. Okay? Makes me feel good, but does it actually do something? What is the art of being able to do it in davening? And as we'll see, davening is essentially the place where to deposit your feelings. So let's go back into the core of what this war is about. This war is not a physical war. You know why? Because thank God, it's that itself is a miracle, but that's the situation. We are stronger than them, actually. Physically, we have more power. Yes, they outnumber us, but we have a Yiddish kop, and we know how to use the army, and our guys are very, very strong, right? And they know army, tactical warfare, they know what to do. We have all that. You know what we don't have with all our Yiddish kop? The problem is that we're wimps. Mugei Elev, very weak. What's the weakness? The weakness is that we're Jewish. And when you're Jewish, it's like you feel bad for the enemy. Never. Poor kids in Gaza are dying. It's so sad. And whenever we see kids in Gaza dying, we feel terrible. And our heart breaks, and so we don't kill them. And when you don't kill them, what happens? They keep doing it. They keep doing to us. Not they kill us. They kill them also. It's like if you don't finish the job and get it done, so what happens? It's like, imagine going to surgery. And you go into surgery. Would you want a doctor who's scared of blood? He goes into surgery. He opens a person up. He opens a patient up. He goes in, and then he gets scared of all the blood. Says, okay, forget it. Let's close it up. And then, a month later, okay, now you're healed. Okay, now let's go do it again because we have no choice. Part 2. And then he gets scared again and keeps on doing it. That's what's going on in Israel for the last 75 years. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah, public opinion is, again, I just want to submit this. What are you scared about in public opinion, right? That they're going to do what? to take your babies and throw them and murder them and burn them and behead them and whatever? Is that what you're scared about? Well, they did that. So what are you scared about now? Reducing aid. For what? They just pulled off a Holocaust on us. Like, what exactly are we scared of? Right. Exactly. And we keep on telling the world, but look at the savagery. Look at what they did. You know what the world's told us about the savagery? Good. They're saying good. That's what they're saying. Because welcome to the world. They don't care. And what I want to do is, first of all, discuss, okay, so that sounds pretty scary. Great. So the whole world's against us. What now? So I want to bring out of here, first of all, the Lubavitcher Rebbe's perspective, which is very, very, very filled with common sense and with divine energy and very powerful. And it's becoming more and more mainstream, thankfully. But let's understand the ideas and the principles and then apply them and see how it applies to each and every one of us. So the first point, the first pillar of his ideas about Eretz Yisrael goes like this. The land of Israel belongs to us for one simple reason. Do you know what the reason is? It was the perfect time. They did it in the right parsha. And we just read that parsha, and it says, "Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz." What does that mean? Rashi says, for the sake of the Jew and for the sake of Torah. It doesn't, not like you would translate in the beginning when Hashem created heaven and earth. He says, no. What it means is it's a mission statement. Why did Hashem create the world? Number one. Number two, why am I telling you this? So that you should realize that God runs everything. Start getting into that concept. God runs everything. God created the world. God decided to give the land of Israel to the people of Israel. And here's the point. That's the only message you should be sharing with the world. Nothing else. Everything else, I mean, you could share the other stuff, the peripherals, yes. The savagery that went on in the land of Israel is of no relevance to the nations. They don't care. But when you tell them, Rashi tells us this, She'im yomru umot ha'olam liYisrael listim atem. The nations say, you are bandits, you are thieves, which is what they're saying. What do we tell them? We answer them back. Everything belongs to God. God gave it, and He gave it to us. So that's it. That message is a very uncomfortable message for Jews. We don't like to say it. We stutter when we say that message. All Jews stutter, including you and me. It's very difficult to say it because we're Jewish. So it's like, it's mine. Because God gave it to me. It takes too much.
But they don't believe that, so we could say they don't believe that.
Do you know why they don't believe it? Because we don't believe it. Here's the reality. When a Jew behaves like a Jew, a goy has respect. That's the fact. The reality in the Middle East is very simple. And this is the Rebbe's primary point in everything he said. In the Middle East, you need to learn to speak the language. The language is Arabic. You can't survive in the Middle East if you don't talk Arabic. You know how you talk Arabic? Power. That's how. You don't say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for your baby. You don't say that. You say, this land is mine. Why? Allah gave it to me. That's why. The Arabs understand that very well. It's the language of power. It's called your inner power. You know why the Goy understands that? Because you believe it. And if you sit over there and say, this is my land because Allah gave it to me, then he gets that you mean business. What do we say? What do our leaders keep on saying? They talk about some United Nations resolution of some sort. It's really insane. You know, I had a question. A guy called me the other day. They said in their shul, they wanted to institute now to say, it's a modern Orthodox shul, and they want to say that Avinu Sheva Shamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'Goalo, you know, to have a blessing for the leaders of Israel. So the question was to say the state of Israel, Reshit Tzmichat Geulateinu, the beginning of Geula. And I'm like, I want to just ask you a simple question. Who caused the war that just happened? Do you think it was the Arabs? I don't blame the Arabs one slight bit. The Arabs did nothing wrong. They did what they do. They're savage beasts. They're murderers. And they did what they do. Did anyone ever in a million years expect that if Gazans get out, they would do anything short of what they did? If you did, you're dreaming. It's crystal clarity. They've showed it to us thousands of times in the past. That's what they do. What's the problem? What's the issue? The issue is, and not the army is wonderful. The issue is the heads, politicians. A politician who worries about what the nations are going to think. A politician who, including the ones in government now, all they can think about is what's going to happen in the next elections and what power do I have and what are the nations going to think about me and am I going to be welcome in different other states because I have to be a normal human being to be there. And so that weakness means you're not willing to say the truth like it is. The truth, Rashi said in the Middle Ages, mind you. Rashi lived in the times of the Crusades. And he went out and told everyone, very simple, the land of Israel belongs to the people of Israel. Why? Because God said so. And just to get it, that's the only language the world understands. The problem is we don't know how to say it with a straight face. And it's not just the leaders of Israel. I'm like, I don't have a problem with the army. I don't have a problem with the leaders of Israel. You should give a big blessing to the leaders of Israel. They should get half a brain or more true, half a heart. And stop being muge leiv, scared. Now, it's a fear that runs across the people of Israel. It's all of us. The leaders are leaders of people. It's not because there's a certain type of person in Israel who's there. And that's number one. Number two is that there's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch, which we've never paid attention to for some odd reason. There is a question in Shulchan Aruch, right? The question in halacha, which is the question in Israel all these years. Land for peace. Does it work or not?
No.
Is there a concept of land for peace? Many religious people will tell you, of course. No. Give away land and you'll get peace.
Mm-hmm.
There is a din in Shulchan Aruch, Hilchot Shabbat, chapter 329, Shin Chavtet. There it says that if a border city is attacked on Shabbos, then Shabbos is out and you go and fight them. Literally what happened now. And then it says, even if they're coming for iskei kash v'tevin, all they want is straw, right. Let alone when they're coming to murder you. Even if all they want is straw, you never give away any iota of land. Why? Because if you give away land, it'll be easy to conquer and they'll be easily closer to you and therefore it's dangerous. In other words, don't disengage from a piece of land, ever, because if you disengage in any way, shape or form, you are party to the murders. There's only one reason why this happened over here. That's because Israel decided to pull out of the Gaza Strip. Very simple. That's our fault. That's what we did, meaning not me and you, but it's our people and they're with us and we don't have a choice. Yirmiyahu keeps on admonishing the people what not to do, and then they don't listen to him. And when they don't listen to him, he goes with them into the exile. Because they may not listen to us, but they're still our people. But when you and I become strong, the message is spread all over. Message number one is Hashem gave us the land. Message number two is even land that Hashem did not give you, because this halacha was actually said originally about the city of Nahardah, which was in Babylon. It has nothing to do with Israel, this. It's got to do with Jews and the security of their land, wherever that land is. And so you never give away land, because if you give away land, you're talking about that. Now in reality, right, it's very simple. If you give away land to Arabs, the Arabs, and you talk about a two-state solution, what do the Arabs do? They get this notion that they're going to get the land. So they start developing these movements inside them. And you give guns to that, and you've just got people who are going to murder you, no matter what. Because you told them that you're going to give them a land. They just didn't get that you're going to give them peacefully. Dumb Arabs, by the way. You want to destroy the Jewish people? Can I advise you how to do it? You know how they could destroy us in no time at all? It's very simple. Open the borders. Just make Gaza and Lebanon with Israel borders the same as New York, New Jersey. You know what'll happen in no time at all? Dumb Arabs, they fight us, they kill us, so we have no choice. We're like, we're going to fight you back. But otherwise, every kibbutz would become part of half Arab right away. assimilation would be much stronger than any other way. They don't get it. Our goal is to fight to intensify who we are. This is our land. I'm a Jew, and Hashem gave it to me, and I'm protecting it and giving it away, and having any notion of fear and any notion of instability and insecurity in who I am is what the Arab sees as your weakness, and that's why he attacks you. So pillar number one is the land is ours because Hashem gave it to us. Pillar number two is this land, we have to protect it no matter what. Never, ever discuss giving away a drop of land, because that's what security is. Point number three, and this is a very important one, is that we actually totally rely on Hashem. Like it is really, it's we don't like it, but what happened this past week is absolutely divine. It makes no sense that the mighty Israeli army, with everything that it has, was shut down, struck as absolute mute for 8 hours. 8 critical hours, doing positively nothing. Hand of God, unfortunately, against us this time. It is, I don't know what it creates. Who knows? Who knows? But whichever way you take it, it's something about internal fighting. Yep. Internal fighting. Divine power is what we need. Unfortunately, Israel, all the years, what it does is, we make an Entebbe raid. You ever read about ever looked at what happened in the Entebbe raid? When they raided Entebbe, you'll realize that it was very daring. It was Mesiras Nefesh, and it was unreal. It was also really like the biggest fluke that they actually succeeded. There was no way to succeed, because 4,000 things could have gone wrong, and did go wrong, many of them, and yet it worked. Do you know why it worked? Hashem wanted it to work, that's why. It's like a double-edged sword which we have to work with. On the one hand, you want Hashem to do things, and you want to recognize the power of Hashem and the protection of Hashem. But you can't stay home and do nothing. You got to go out and do something. So it's kind of like interesting, because what happens in Israel is afterwards, oh yeah, the might of Tzahal. Yeah, the might of Tzahal saw just this past week what the might of Tzahal was. Tzahal is no might. It's Hashem. It's the power of God. If you get the power of God, then you realize that when are you in God's power? When you act, not when you sit and do nothing and say, I have bitachon, I'm good. Hashem wants you to do ishtadlus. He wants you to do something. So he wants you to go out and change things. How do you change it? You change it by starting to say that line. This land is ours, not because savages want to kill us and I want your pity and compassion that I should be able to get the land. Good luck, world, with getting that. It's the land is ours because Hashem gave it to us. Internalize that message. And internalize the message of security. You want peace? Sure. Peace for peace. The land is mine. What should be done now is to take over the land and take it back and go build, go build the Chabad house in Gaza. No big deal, by the way. I was in Chabad house in Gaza. I was there. There were great people there. I spent a Shabbos once in a place called Morag. Beautiful, beautiful place, and such incredible people. Yep, they pushed them out. We pushed them out, and we destroyed it. And now we're wondering why they did this to us. So what's it all about, the war? The war is about morale and power of the people of Israel. And that's where we come in. We, each individual, enters into that space because this is a war which is fought all about chinuch. It's an ongoing war. It started 75 years ago. It's very intense right now. We're in the middle of a war and we've never won it. And we've never finished the war. So it keeps on going on and on and on to the next generation and the next generation and the next one. But right now there's a time of hit'orut. There's a time of real awakening among the Jewish people. And so let's first see what each of us as an individual can do. The first order of the day is to flip your emotions. The first order of the day is to realize that the Hamas terrorists have successfully engendered very powerful emotions in all of us. Very, very successful. They did it. What's our avodah? What's our work? To flip each one of those emotions, to change them over, and to bring them back to Hashem. What does that mean? So when you feel fear, and when you feel anxiety, and when you feel scared, etc., what do you do with it? There was a beautiful clip going around about a soldier. I think his name is Yair Ansbacher, and I have no idea who he is. I think he's wearing a kippah sruga, so he looks like a guy who learns a lot of Hasidus, but it looks like a guy who's, a modern Orthodox guy. But he describes how there were two armies, basically. There's the front army, and there's the back army. He says the front army was wiped out. That's like just regular guys. He says then comes the fighters, and they're all over. And they were the ones who were able to bring down, because at the end of the day, we did win. Even though we lost, we sustained terrible, terrible casualties, but we did win. So he describes a day, what it was like in Kibbutz Be'eri and the whole area. And worst day of my life, he says, it was like a Holocaust, but I didn't pay one iota of attention to anything that was going on all day long. Zero feelings. Because I'm in the middle of a war. No feelings in the time of war. He says, but at night, I came home and it was over. And then I went to sleep, and that's when the feelings started to come in. Very intense. I wake up in the morning, and I want to go daven Shachris. I'm a religious soldier. I can't daven Shachris. Because I'm angry at Hashem. How do you daven Shachris when you're angry at Hashem? So he says, like, I'm sitting over there, and I don't know, how am I going to pray? Anyone saw the clip? No? I got it from 100 people, so... Yeah, that clip. He's talking in Hebrew. Yes. He's 40 years old, 35. Yeah. Yes, correct. It went all around. You gotta have that one in English because it's phenomenal. So he says, so I get to daven and I can't daven. I don't know how to daven. So what do? I say to myself, okay. So he says, I don't know. I open an Igrot Kodesh. And I look inside, and what do I see written down? It says there, when a person can't daven, so I open it up and I see, when you can't daven, what you want to do is change over. And instead of thinking that I'm the one who's davening, start thinking, put yourself as a third person. In other words, someone else. And look at a third person and say, there's an Ish Yisrael, there's a Jew, an Ish Yisrael, who needs to daven to Hashem. And so it's not me who's davening, it's the other person who's davening. Put yourself into the shoes of a lion. And he says, and I started to realize, you know what? I can do that. It's not me. I'm pained. I'm in a disastrous state. Fine. Let's put myself into the shoes of a third person, and he davens. He says, I had the best davening in my life. I was davening. It was the day after Simchas Torah. It was unreal. Ba'asar Simchas Torah. And he said, that was an absolutely incredible davening. I was just feeling connected. What does it mean to daven? Here's what happens in davening. Davening is not you sitting over there saying, please Hashem, help me. That's one little part of davening. What's davening about? You taking in all the intense feelings that you feel and flipping them over. By the end of your davening, you want to overcome. If you're feeling anxious or you're feeling helpless, you want to not feel anxious or helpless. You ever succeeded in doing that? How do you not feel anxious? When you look at the news, what happens? Sometimes you start feeling anxious a little bit, right? You look at the news and you see, yes, they attacked, they killed that guy. And you feel like, yes, my football team succeeded. Right? As if that one guy, that's the solution. So you feel a little bit of a sense of relief for 3 seconds. And then it comes back again and again. And you need to look at the news again, and you can't get away from it. Instead of looking at the news and turning to that space to get your sense of security, find your security with Hashem. There is one verse we say there in the epicenter of davening. And it goes like this. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. In English, what's Shema? I got another translation for you. Shema means put yourself together. There is a verse in Tanakh which says, Vayeshama Shaul et ha'am, which means Shaul gathered all the people together. Shema means gather yourself together. Try daven and say, Shema Yisrael, put yourself together, Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Stop being so scattered. You're all over the place. You're feeling so many intense feelings. But Hashem is behind everything. There's God, there's Hashem in every single thing. Another clip that went around, in English that one, was a lady soldier. And I think I heard who she is, but she was good. She was holding a gun and whatever all in her hand, and she's talking about, you saw her? Yeah. She's a color? Oh. And she's talking about her shara bitachon that she learned and how she's good. She's talking about Hashem is behind everything. There's nothing that happens that's not from Hashem. And you can see that sense of security and confidence that she exuberates all over her. It's like, it's a sense of power of, I have my power. Where do I get my power from? Ezri me'im Hashem oseh shamayim va'aretz. My power is from Hashem. It's almost like you download the fighting spirit when you download it from Hashem. But if we try not to have Hashem in our lives, by looking at the news and by trying to get information, if this happens and that happens, if this occurs and that occurs, then it's fine. That's hijacking your neshama. The need to receive pieces of news is a hijack of your soul. Because what happens is, when you have all that happen to you, your soul is not able to express herself. Your soul is stifled. And when your soul is stifled, they just won.
Exactly why they send those clips slowly, psychological warfare to break us.
Right. And we are very broken. We are. We're feeling. You shouldn't watch. Look, you can't. You're going to get them regardless, whichever way you go. What? Good. Depends how many you watch a day. That's the question. The question is, what are you addicted? And there's nothing wrong with knowing what's going on. Exactly. The question is, where is the validation coming from? That's the question. Validation, me'ayin yavo ezri, from feeling nothingness. Uncertainty, that's where my help comes from. Because ezri me'im Hashem, I'm in Hashem's hands constantly. There is a pasuk in Shir Hashirim which says, Libavtini achoti kala. What it means is, you are my heart, my sister, my bride. Now, what does a heart do in the body? What a heart does, all the blood has to go through the heart. So you eat food, the body has this unreal system, and it takes the food, processes it, takes out the nutrients, makes it into blood, sends that blood over to the heart, and then back from the heart, circulates to the rest of the body, and that's how you live life. But you know what the heart does? The heart itself has two ventricles. There's Chalal Asmali and Chalal Yamani, the left ventricle and the right ventricle. What? That's it. It's two rooms, two ventricles. The way it works is, the left one is filled with blood. The right one is empty. Blood goes in, blood is transformed, blood moves from the left to the right ventricle, and from there it comes out. It's a chamber in the heart, yes. In other words, it's an active work of what you want to do in the heart. How do we serve Hashem? What's tefillah known as? Ezohi avodah shebalev. Zu tefillah. Why is tefillah called avodah shebalev? You think it's called that because, well, you're supposed to actually feel feelings towards Hashem. What it means is, Ezohi avodah shebalev, is what is the work on the heart? Which means, feelings enter your heart, literally. Just like blood comes in, there's feelings that come in. And your work, aka davening, is to flip those feelings from the left ventricle to the right ventricle and to change them over. So feelings come in, I process them, I change them, I send them back. Most of us don't do that. Most of us, what you see is what you get, which means a feeling comes in, you receive the feeling, you pump it right back out in the same way it came in. That's called being influenced by everything around you, by your surroundings. You saw fear, you react with fear. So if you're afraid, what happens? You do everything okay, you bring everyone back from Eretz Yisrael, let's go, no offense, whatever, you can, you get the idea. But let's just undo it and let's go do some stuff, but we're very scared. That's the problem. To serve Hashem in your heart means flip your heart. How do you flip your heart? This is how you daven. You take a look at the feeling that came your way. You analyze the feeling, you monitor the feeling, and you give him a hug. Just like a little baby who's feeling very anxious. And you see the feeling of anxiety, yes. The feeling of anxiety is telling you that you need to do this, that, and the other in order to overcome the feeling of anxiety. That is not true. You don't need to do anything. What you need to do with the feeling is undo him. So how do you daven? You put yourself as an Ish Yisrael. You say, whoa, this is intense. I'm feeling helpless. I'm feeling anxious. Oh, but Hashem is running the world. Hashem is with me. Hashem is guiding me every step of the way. Shema Yisrael. Put yourself together to a realization that Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And then you say, yeah, but there was a Holocaust. Look what happened. And the Holocaust just went and went and went. Yes, correct. And Hashem is right there. And it's painful. So if you don't process the feeling you're feeling, you never get over it. If you don't allow the grief into your heart, the grief and the helplessness and all the horrible, intense feelings, you can't get anywhere. You got to let the feelings enter your heart. You got to feel every one of these very, very, very intense feelings. And they won't go away in one go. You allow the feeling into your heart and then you flip it right over by davening. And you can't just walk into Shema Yisrael. It takes time. It takes effort. In the times of the Beis HaMikdash, Hashem was revealed. How did they work in the Beis HaMikdash? What they did was, they used to offer korbanos, right? Sacrifices. How do you offer sacrifice? You take an animal, you bring it into the Beis HaMikdash, you put it on the Mizbeach, on the altar, which is a place of Hashem, and there you burn him to Hashem. What do we do nowadays instead of korbanot? Tefillah. How do you do tefillah? Precisely the same way. Why is tefillah replacing korbanot? Because tefillah is a korban. You take an animal. What's the animal? Feelings. Very intense feelings. They're animalistic. The feeling of worry, the feeling of anxiety, the feeling of fear, the feeling of helplessness. Each one is a different animal. And what you want to do is bring him into the Mizbeach. What's the Mizbeach? Your heart. And you want to reach the point that your heart becomes absolutely calm, tranquil. It's a life's mission. It's very, 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 very difficult. And most people don't have a clue how to do it. When you do it, in general, all your problems go away in life. Because your problems are not real, right? We don't get trained correctly. We get trained that it's a man's world. You know what a male world means? A man's world means that if you throw enough at the problem will change. So you do that, try that, and do whatever you do. How do women solve problems? They don't just go crazy about it. They go mad. They go like intense feelings. No. It's very different the way women do things, the way men do things. No? Right? You know what Hashem says? Eishes chayil ateres baila. That when Mashiach comes, the woman of valor becomes the crown of her husband. Mashiach means that the woman becomes the crown. And suddenly you discover that the power is actually in the feeling. Like, wow, you don't need to do anything to solve the problem. You just need to be there, absolutely stand in your power, and the problem disappears. Now, that doesn't mean you're not doing anything. Let's say as a people of Israel, we are now successfully, we take the feelings, we grieve, we cry, we lament, we mourn, we feel the helplessness, we feel every single thing of the way. And we feel stuck, and we feel ganged up on. And everyone is like, are you insane? You don't realize that they just murder women and children and babies and old people and everything like that right there. And you're just sitting over there and supporting them? Get over all that and realize you don't need them. Don't need any of these wonderful goyim around the world. What do we need? Ezri Me'im Hashem. I draw my power from Hashem. And once I do that, no, I'm not a Jew from Poland of 300 years ago who's sitting over there doing nothing and saying, yeah, whatever. No. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to do something about it. What am I going to do about it? Once you get that Hashem is your power, now you don't care what the goy thinks. So you walk over to the goy and you say it like it is with all your might. This land is our land. If that message were to spread across Israel, the problem would disappear. There would be no more of this ever happening again. Because we'd have the power. And when we would keep the Shulchan Aruch after that and say, no more land giving, none of that, we're taking it over. That's our power. But you're not the government. So what do we do? No. Send a class to yourself. Send a class to yourself. And then go do the people around you. And realize that Hashem has certain, there's these energies that he sends out. And what are those energies? Well, when you daven, you say the Shema. Shema means you put yourself together, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and you say that b'chol levavcha, which means you actually start feeling it in your heart, and you flip it, and you walk out of this experience of davening saying, I got it. I feel Hashem taking care of me. If you haven't done that, you haven't davened ever. Because b'chol levavcha means b'shnei yitzarecha, both ventricles of your heart. That's why it doesn't say libcha, it says levavcha. Both sides of your heart need to recognize the power of Hashem. When you recognize that, now you send out a different output into the world. Then you go daven Shemona Esrei. What's Shemona Esrei? Shemona Esrei is, I'm asking Hashem for my needs. So, hey Hashem, can you please cure all those people who need a cure? What do you do and then can you please give money to me? I need money. And can you please blow a shofar and you bring Mashiach already, etc. And can you please get rid of all these murderers? That just be blown to smithereens. And then what do you say at the end of each bracha? Each request, how do you finish the request? Baruch atah Hashem. What's Baruch atah Hashem? Baruch is not bless, because you don't know what bless is. Baruch means to bring down. Drawing down the power of Hashem. I'm asking, and I know it's done. Asking, and I know it's done. Can you see that? That is the power, because you realize Hashem is in everything. If you ask Hashem for something, consider it done and feel that it's done. So it's not about me asking that the person should be cured. And then, after I make the request, I know that because I made the request, Hashem is going to show me revealed good. I don't know what. I don't know what revealed good is, but I know that I'm going to see revealed good. All we're doing now is doing that collectively, the same thing. And when you finish davening, so you did Shema, you did Shemona Esrei, you're bringing Hashem down, then you do the next thing, which is called Hashem's energy penetrating the world. It means we go learn Torah. So what do we Jews do? We open up Torah, right? You were saying before that they realize that the Torah is protecting us. Of course the Torah is protecting us. You know why Torah protects us? Because Torah means that we run our lives based on what the Torah is saying. Torah is divine. So once you have that confidence, Hashem is controlling the world, now you're like, okay, let's learn Torah to bring that down. What's the halacha? What does Hashem want? And we do the next step, which is mitzvahs. It's like, I'm getting all these people sending me pictures of them putting tefillin on someone else, and it's so powerful. When you put tefillin, great clip that I saw also, amongst all these clips. I think I was in Duke University this week. So this guy, they have, all the Yimach Shmam, free Palestine, standing over there in the students on college. And then the other students came against them. So they're all holding Israeli flags. But no offense to the Israeli flag, it's not that old. doesn't have that much power. It's a very limited flag, maybe 75 years old. We're much older than that. One of the students gets up. What a clip! He gets up in front of the Arab, standing on a podium, and he gets up and doesn't look like a religious guy, but he's making a point. He takes out his tefillin and he starts rapping. And he's standing over there in front of them, and then he starts davening like that. And it's a really powerful clip, because that's what it is. When the nations see the name of God called upon you, they become afraid of you. We don't believe that. We believe that, come on, like seriously, we Jews, you know what we do? We dance around the table. That's how we do. We get crazy dancing around the table with our books. Guess what? The people who've been dancing around the table with their books have been doing it for thousands of years and will be doing it forever. Always. And the guys with the Kalashnikovs, those guys, they'll all disappear. So what we do is, we dance around the table, and then we take our Kalashnikov and we go shoot. But we shoot with belief, because we dance around the table. You gotta blend the two together, and that's what each one of us is called upon to do. If you're not in the government, what you want to do is be able to take all those feelings, flip them over in davening, become the heart of the world, because that's what it is. Hashem says, "Libavtini achoti kala," means I run the world. But here's how I run the world. There's energy all over. The energy is coming your way. It's coming right at you. Make sure when the energy comes at you that you flip it in your heart. Because you're not a spectator of this game. You are it. When the feeling comes into you, it's coming to you, asking you as an animal to be brought as a korban on the mizbeach. So those feelings inside you, you're not a spectator like we think we are. You have divine energy inside you. And when you daven and you start realizing Hashem in your life, if it comes easy, it's not real. It's hard work. When you flip it once, again and again on a daily basis, and you start feeling confident and the power of Hashem, and then you bring it down through your Shemana Esrei, you start realizing Hashem in everything you do in your life, and you bring it further down into Torah and mitzvahs, then out goes a person, confident, powerful, standing in your power, in your authenticity, in your truth. Then when you go do what you got to do, the world falls before you. Because everything is divine. Everything is Hashem. But the way Hashem designed the world, it's libavtini achoti kala. Stop being a spectator. Change the feelings inside you. Flip them over. And then as you move back into the world, you'll discover that when you believe in Hashem for real, when Hashem is really your power, if you can truly say, Hashem ro'i lo echsar, I am lacking nothing and I have Hashem. And you say, but Hashem just killed so many of us. I have no explanation. I grieve. I feel a lot of grief. And I cry. And I'm still with Hashem. And the more I do that, the more I realize that Hashem is my power. And the more I realize that I stop stuttering. And yes, we need to do it as a people. But when each one of us starts to do it in life, each one of us, look what happens. Little clips go around the world. The world changes. When you do it, someone next to you is going to sense that energy, and a clip will go out to the world and it'll create bitachon. It'll create power among all the Jews. Every one of us has a power, and there is a real energy going on around the world now. The energy is divine. It's an energy that all of us are stand together. It's unity, it's power, it's achdus. And our enemies don't understand what the power of a Jew is. The question is not them. The question is us. Do we get what the power of a Jew is? If we do, then the power of a Jew just spreads across the world. And when it does, we get geula, we get redemption. But redemption comes from within us. When we have that redemption, then it can spread across the world. Just we need Hashem to help us, because we need Hashem to help us for this itself. Like daven to Hashem, that I should have the power for Hashem to help me. Because when I do, nothing stands in the way of a Jew.